Russia walks away from a threat on torture. What does it matter? A Ukrainian serviceman has survived after Russians cut his throat. And how Ukrainians are still holding the line. Hear directly from the front what keeps them fighting, what's at stake, and what freedom means when your enemy has abandoned every rule of war. That's in our episode, so you'll be in focus. Stay with us for the latest updates and exclusive reports. In recent days, Russia has announced its intention to officially withdraw from the European Convention for the Prevention of Torture. It sounds dramatic, but in reality, nothing will change. Russia was expelled from the Council of Europe back in 2022, following its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And since membership in the Council is a prerequisite for being part of the Convention, Russia has long ceased to be bound by its rules. But even when it was a member, did it really comply? We all remember the reports of torture in the occupied territories long before 2022, and today we clearly see the condition in which Ukrainian prisoners of war and civilians are returned from Russian captivity. Inhumane conditions, torture, humiliation, these aren't exceptions, they are part of a system that has nothing to do with international law or human rights. Because in Putin's Russia, human rights are seen not as a value, but as a weakness. And right now, this isn't about legal technicalities, it's about the real human cost of that system. The next story is about a Ukrainian prisoner of war who the Russians tried to kill. They slit his throat and threw him into a pit with his dead comrades, but he survived, and today he can tell us what the so-called Ruski Mir really looks like, with the mask off.
All I could see in my mind were my wife and my daughter.
These are the words 33-year-old Vladislav has only been able to write. After enduring brutal torture in Russian captivity, he still cannot speak. Russian forces captured the servicemen near Mirolyubivka in the Donetsk region.
He wrote that they were surrounded and their position was bombed. Then he said they were taken into a basement. It was covered in blood. The other guys, the ones who had been killed or cut up, they were already on their knees, tied up.
Vladislav was able to tell about the torture only after he was rescued. Russian occupiers tried to force him to give up military secrets.
He wrote that they were trying to find out where our drones were, our positions, our artillery.
They wanted to know everything, where everything was. The soldiers wouldn't talk, so they were tortured. One of the captors was nicknamed Black. They said it was his third time at war, that he was a convict. He was on front lines to avoid being in prison.
Vladislav said the youngest among the 7 prisoners was no older than 20. His name was Victor. He watched all of them die. The Russians slit Vladislav's throat then and threw him into a pit along with the others.
He was lucky. They covered the pit with trash to hide the bodies. That helped him. There was a broken bottle in the pit. His hands were tied behind his back, but he managed to cut the rope with the bottle and escape.
He wrote to me that he changed into civilian clothes so he wouldn't be recognized as a serviceman, and then crawled toward our line.
On August 13th, Vladislav's family was told he was missing in action. 2 days later, on the 15th, they provided DNA samples in case he needed to be identified. But on August 17th, Victoria received a call from his commander.
He said Vlad had crawled back to our position, alive. They didn't want to scare me, said he only had minor injuries.
Doctors say people rarely survive wounds like Vladislav's. Massive blood loss usually leads to death within hours, but he made it back to his unit over 5 days. Medical staff call it a true miracle. Vladislav believes his military and first aid training helped him survive. He has served for 15 years and regularly took emergency medical courses. He knew how to stop the bleeding and dress the wound. According to Ukraine's Human Rights Commissioner, Dmytro Lubinets, in 2024 alone, there were 109 officially confirmed executions of Ukrainian prisoners of war. In the first 6 months of 2025, at least 51 Ukrainian prisoners of war have been confirmed killed.
Special forces of Ukraine's defense intelligence have documented over 150 executions of Ukrainian defenders in captivity. In many cases, there is direct evidence of orders to kill prisoners. These war crimes are part of a deliberate policy by the leadership of the aggressor state, Russia. From a statement by Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Directorate on Telegram.
Despite everything he's endured, Vladislav is determined to return to the front to avenge the Ukrainian soldiers murdered by Russian forces. Natalia Husak, Volodymyr Shtengelov, UATV News.
Let me remind you, this war has been raging for over 11 years, with more than 3 years of full-scale invasion. While Russia continues to avoid direct negotiations with President Zelensky, Ukrainian soldiers are still fighting every day for their independence. Hear their motivation straight from the front lines in our next story.
This is one of the training grounds in Donetsk region. Both battle-hardened servicemen and new recruits are practicing updated tactical maneuvers here to resist ongoing Russian assaults. Today's drills involve anti-tank units, whose actions are carefully coordinated by their battalion's command.
Position Zephyr, Grid 8, enemy vehicle movement spotted. Eliminate.
One of the soldiers here, call sign Jaeger, is originally from Kryvyi Rih. He's been on the front lines since the very start of Russia's full-scale invasion. In February 2022, the military recruitment office initially hesitated to accept his documents due to health issues, he recalls. He was only allowed to join the fight after passing a second medical review.
They asked me, "Are you sure you won't regret it?" I said, "Of course not. We'll all regret it later if we don't go now."
In nearly 4 years of full-scale war, Jaeger has served as a mortar operator and later in air defense. He admits the pace and intensity of the war are exhausting, but that doesn't stop him from continuing to fight. Have you been in the hottest spots?
Yeah, we've been through them all. We want independence because our nation is strong and undefeated.
They are also training for scenarios involving another large-scale enemy assault, especially how to cover advancing infantry. The commander of the anti-tank battalion, call sign Falcon, says he uses these training sessions to pass on all the combat experience he's gained, in the hope it will save lives on the battlefield.
I've always had motivation. Before the war, I worked in the railways, but deep down I've always felt like a serviceman. The motivation has always been there.
Falcon himself once served as an infantryman. He knows firsthand what it's like to face the enemy on the front lines. He says that while there may not be time for holidays at the front, Ukraine's Independence Day remains deeply personal to him.
To me, Independence Day is like a birthday. You get it. I have a reason to defend my country. I grew up here. I've got nowhere else to go. This is my country, my land, my fields.
When not on combat missions, drone crews also train here at the range. Many of the fighters underwent retraining just a few months ago. Each of them came from a different military background. Take the serviceman with the call sign Monach, monk in English. He used to fight as infantry and took part in the defense of Ivanivsky village near Bakhmut. Now, as part of a drone crew, he's continuing the fight to stop the Russian army.
Some of my comrades are from occupied territories. They've told us so many stories, and it makes me want to both defend my home and help liberate theirs. These days, Independence Day for most of us servicemen, it means wiping out the enemy. That's our main goal.
The hope of one day returning home is what keeps Shazan going. He was born in a part of Ukraine that is now under Russian occupation. That dream, he says, gives him the strength to keep fighting. Still got that fire?
Yeah, I've still got the fire in me, the focus, the rage, and the reason to keep striking back.
Ukrainian soldiers say they show their desire for independence every single day through their actions on the battlefield. Their fight for freedom under Russia's full-scale invasion has now been going on for 1,278 days. Alyona Khramova, Yevgeny Karmazin from Donetsk region, UATV News.
What's your take on all of this? Share your thoughts below. This is UATV. Stay sharp, in focus, and stay safe.